I'm raising my screen.
Am I
I'm
too
up-
braille, an addict?
I'm up in a loft. It's like a little den space in our living room that's kind of a little loft above the living room.
It looks so cool.
Yeah.
That's like the light on or off in my background. That's the light on.
Guys, we're live now, so we're doing this. We're doing this live. And Felipe, I'm gonna bag that pre-roll for now.
Cool.
Just so you know. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for coming here. And we really appreciate it. And a lot of this is last minute because we're figuring this out in real time. But David, there's this interesting phenomenon going on. I just spoke to Rich Roll. Do you remember Rich Roll? Do you know Rich Roll?
I don't know if I do.
So Rich Roll's like a big podcast guy. And he was at TNP this past year. And like me, he's been doing a variety of these meetings. He and I have our own like meeting world that we are also a part of. And the long story short is that the value of people having real conversations right now is really intense, like really valuable. And so, you know, you were talking about some of the real world things that you're dealing with right now. And so there's something about the nowishness of what's happening, right? Which is that everyone's in some degree of crisis. Everyone's in some degree of challenge. The stories vary in the sense that there are all these realities. Like I have a friend whose wife died and they can't have a funeral, right? Or on and on. Or a nurse who is an oncologist, but has to take care of her kids at night too, and has to be in hospitals during the day. And the challenge, like, right? There's all these kinds of challenges, and I think you guys are familiar with that. So we invited you back. I hate an echo, and I don't know why it's echoing. I'm told that Zoom is just overloaded. You know, turn your volume down a little bit, if you have, or maybe go on mute for just a second, if you guys would. That's actually better. Okay, Felipe, actually, you know a little bit about this, but what I was going to say is that, so part of what we're doing here is we just want to have a conversation, and I want to have a conversation that's built on two pieces. There's a woman on here who has an interesting story. We call them neighbor stories, and it's sharing your story. It's that simple. It's very straightforward. Share your story, and then allow people to identify, and to the extent that we can be vulnerable with each other and authentic with each other, boring buzzwords. It provides a lot of value for ourselves, right? But also for other people. So that's really what this is and was. So that's why, David, we asked you back. And one of the things I'm going to do right now, I want everyone just say your name and maybe unmute all of you now. And Felipe, I'm going to start with you. Just say your name so people know who you are.
I'm Felipe.
But Felipe Ribeiro, and I'm Tom Scott. I am co-founder and chairman of the Nantucket Project and the Neighborhood Project. You don't have to tell your jobs. Don't tell your jobs, but Michelle, you go ahead.
I'm Michelle St. John. I'm from Bedford, New York.
And James.
Yeah, I'm James, and I'm just really happy to see the faces of people I actually don't live with for a change. So this is really great.
And Boo.
Oh, hi, I'm Boo, and I've been freaking out today.
David.
I'm David Brown, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Frankie.
Hi, I'm Frankie Cool. I'm on the beginning of my double lives and happy to see different faces too.
Martha.
I'm Martha McBride. Can I say what I do?
Yeah. We work together.
I run the Neighborhood Project.
Yeah. And Tantra.
Hi, I'm Tantra Love. I'm from Oakland, California.
Thanks for coming back, Tantra. And
Yeah.
David, you and Tantra were both there this last fall. I said to Tantra yesterday, because I meant it, that I thought that when she went back on the stage on that Sunday, it was among the more powerful moments that I had seen. And it was, you know, you think, for me, I think like, what makes something like that so powerful? And I'm sure you chose good language, but it wasn't the language. And I'm sure you were being generous, but it wasn't just the generosity. It was like the direct observation, direct vulnerability in the moment that brought me to a place that I just didn't know existed until the moment that you said that. So I said it before, but thank you for that moment. All right, so as a way to sort of kickstart this, I'm going to play us a film. Martha, oh, am I skipping something? I am. Well, are you going before me? Yeah, you're going to read the preamble. And you're right now, you're on mute, Martha. You there?
Yeah, sorry. Live TV. I've had to pull it up. I blew that.
You want me to play the meditation first?
Sure. Would you do that? And then I would
Yeah, I
feel
will.
like bad
So we're going
about
to do a
myself.
meditation, right? We're going to do an internet meditation. Take advantage. Just enjoy it. It's weird, but that's okay. I need my glasses to set it up. Okay, here we go.
We're going to start with a brief sound meditation. So just soften your gaze. You can even look down towards the floor. Notice your breath for a moment, anywhere in your body where it's easy for you to notice it. So that could be at the base of the nostrils. It can be gently moving in your chest. You might even feel the breath moving all the way down into your low belly. Allow your attention to float from sound to sound. And all together, I'm gonna invite in a long breath through the nose for 4 counts. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. Good. One more like that. Breathing in again, 2, 3, 4, and exhale through the mouth. This time, we're gonna exhale with a long extended just on one tone. So your tone might not match mine. So breathing in nice and full. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, guys. Okay, so this past
Now-
fall, I brought my glasses. What'd you say? Oh, you're ready, Martha? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Martha, read our preamble if you would.
Come gather round, people. The mission of the Neighborhood Project is to unite and help individuals and communities through meaning and conversation. This preamble reflects the values and experiences of our organization and our neighborhood groups. It highlights practices for healthy and fruitful gatherings. We gather around online today to learn, grow, heal, and serve. Consequently, we benefit ourselves, our communities, and our nation. When the film ends, the conversation will begin. There is no leader. Anyone can speak. Let's start the project.
Okay. So instead of doing a full-blown episode like we normally do, we're just going to show a brief film that gives some background on David. And David, you can comment as you like. After that, we're going to just talk about that for a little bit, and then someone's going to tell a story today on this as well. You know, we met David, as I mentioned, in the fall at our last event, and I'll just let the story kind of speak for itself.
So I decided 10 years ago to start a choir back in, of all places, Columbus, Ohio. When I get people together and sing something that seems transformational, those 500 voices feel so connected to each other. There's this beautiful moment where everybody's inspired and they all clap, and then they all go back to their separate places. How do I want to find the way so that the harmony doesn't stop when the concert's over? What if I could focus all of that energy? What if I required every single person in a choir that I work with to give a certain amount of time back serving outside of themselves? That's when I knew my purpose. Here we are today, 10 years later. We've created a community for these people. We have programs in prisons, in shelters, in schools. For example, we drive up to a women's prison and we go in every week, and we don't go in to help them. We go in to be with them. Every one of us has experienced pain, suffering, loss. Harmony is finding the balance between the joy, the love, the pain, the suffering. That's why we keep doing what we do, so that they carry that harmony with them, so that they're not alone. We have people that are singing together, but music is not the purpose of what we're doing. Social harmony is the purpose of what we're doing.
I've seen that a few times now. I tear up every time.
Wow.
Awesome. David, how does it make you feel to watch that? I know you've seen it before, but I'm just curious.
Well, I just saw it one time the other day. You know, there are moments where I'm like, I need a neck lift. And then there are moments where I'm like, I have the best job in the entire world.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always hard to watch yourself. But the moments that I just get pulled into is when those people are singing, and you hear their voices. And it's not just that they're singing, it's what they're singing. And that's what I think makes the Harmony Project different, is that it's not just about getting together to sing. It's about finding a story. And it's about finding a story that everyone can participate in and make their own. So, I mean, I could watch that again and again and see all those faces, because right now I'm not getting to see any of those faces.
Oh.
I was as I was watching, I mean, the parts in the rehearsal there when they're all getting up and hugging and singing, I'm like, man, what would I do what would I give to be doing that right now?
Right.
You know, just a human connection.
Yeah, I was wondering how, all of those people being together, you can just see the emotion in people's eyes as part of them just doing something together as one. And we're not doing much of that right now, unless we do something like this.
Yeah, I always can't help really, really smiling when you hear the harmony coming together. It's just such a magical moment.
Did you get everyone at the Nantucket Project to sing? Was that part of what you did up there? Yeah.
Yeah, they gave me like $1 million to make all those people sing together, and it was not enough. And it was not enough. I didn't get them to sing. I just stood up and basically waved my arms around, and they sang. So it was great.
Oh, really? Okay, magically just went like that, and everybody started singing.
Yep, it was all magic.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit, David. I mean, I was there, and music is so moving and powerful, and I love singing with my class, and singing to me is amazing. It's one of my joys, and just watching the clip and just seeing you makes me teary because it brings me back to that moment together. So thank you, because it continues to touch me.
I got choked up today when my kids, I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, they did their music class with their music teacher remotely with like 15 other kids, actually just like this, pretty much. And they were so happy to see their friends and just to be singing with their music teacher. It's by far the best part of their day. And it made me tear up and choke up because just to see them happy when they're just really in their living room, still in their pajamas at 3 p.m.
I think we're supposed to get out of our pajamas. I read someone sent me something saying like for your, like in the biosphere, or if you're living in quarantine, you're supposed to get up and like get dressed as if you're ready to leave the house. I don't know. That's what I read. So.
Yeah, my two sons, they're home now all the time, and they're seniors in college, and I make them get up and be dressed as if they're going to school or work by 9 a.m.
Wow.
All the dishes and garbage has to be done by 9:30, and it has to be like a regular day. You're not going to sink into some depression here during this time. We're going to stay focused.
Hey guys, a quick tech note. We're having a little bit of an echo. So I'm going to mute everybody. Try to learn like your mute unmute button, and feel free to talk as you like, but I'm going to go with a mute all right now just to minimize the echo, but here goes, and talk away.
Nobody tried to sleep in and do a morning pajama slumber party?
I'm really not joking when my kids were in their pajamas at 5 p.m. last night when we were making pizza. But I do think, though, what I was saying about the music class, for some reason, and David, I don't know what, maybe you have some perspective on this, but all the things that they're doing, the online learning and all of that, for some reason, them dancing and singing with their friends, even on this, not actually with them, it was their favorite thing by far. I mean, what, do you have some perspective? You see this happen with adults all the time when they're together, but.
Got to unmute. I got it.
I think.
Go ahead.
For kids, I think there's something about the magic of the screen, and just what they're used to watching. Children, at least, is more entertainment, and it's fun. And so to see your friends on that screen, suddenly your friends are on the TV screen that you were watching The Lion King on, and you can see them and interact with them. But the same thing happens with adults. This coming Sunday, cross your fingers that nothing changes between now and then. We're going to launch something called Harmony at Home, and it's on Facebook Live, and we're going to try to have 5 musicians in a room, but all 6 feet apart from each other, and a poet who has written an original piece called 6 Feet Apart. And it's kind of like what we're going through right now, the separation between us. And then I was going to teach that same chorus that we sang at Nantucket on Facebook Live and then have a singer perform it. And then at home, all across the country or the world, whoever tunes in could just sing along wherever they are. Because I just believe that there's something about, I mean, there's many other songs that I use, but there's something about the messaging in that song that I think if you're alone at home, or if you're with family at home, to be able to sing to yourself into the screen or to those around you, you say, I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. Because I think right now, a lot of us don't know what to feel except fear and uncertainty. And so if we could access some feeling of love, some feeling of connection in this moment, this very early moment in what we're going through, you know, there's a much longer road ahead of us here. And people are already freaking out, you know? So we're hoping that we can find a way to begin on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock to just get people to kind of gather around a screen. It might be a phone, an iPad, a laptop, a desktop, or even a TV screen, and just be together in the ways that we can be together right now. I'm hoping that it'll work for the adults the way that it worked for your kids, that people will just feel the joy and want to be together for this little bit of time that we can control the one moment that we're in.
David, what do you?
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just going to ask, what do you think? Two-part question. First part, what is that emotion? What is that? Like, because it's beautiful and I definitely feel it, right? And I know I'm not alone. But I want to like think like, what exactly is that? What is that thing that makes you feel those incredibly beautiful, bittersweet tears? And then the second part, let's stick with this for now, because I'm curious how you respond to that.
Well, I mean, I think in some ways it's different for each person, but just like the meditation that we started with, all that music really is tone, and it's tones in our body that resonate with different parts of our body and different parts of our brain. That's all that music really is. It's sound and it's vibration. And I think that there's a level of that resonates, you know, in the heart, in the soul, in the mind. And then there's also the melody and how someone constructs. I mean, when a hit song comes out and you hear it for the first time on the radio and you're like, oh my God, that song's amazing. There's something about the way they've crafted the melody that brings you into it. There's something about the way they do the key changes and the chord progressions that take you on this roller coaster of emotions that allow you to kind of lean in, lean back, breathe in, breathe out. And then there's the lyric, of course. So you can have instrumental music that does it for you without a lyric, but a lyric makes a song into a story. And I think we all, from childhood, love to have stories read to us. And that's what Neighborhood Project is. It's storytelling, and it's people getting together and sharing. So I think that, I mean, the emotion for me is I go back to one of my earliest memories. It's not my first memory, but one of my earliest memories in church when I was a little boy is when everybody stood up in their pews to sing a hymn together. And I was standing on the pew because I was short. And I would be holding on and everybody's singing from the hymnal. And suddenly everyone in the room was equal. And everyone in the room was just singing together. And there was no separation based on who the bad people were and the good people were, you know, because I grew up in the Baptist church. So there was bad people and good people. But, you know, singing was a way for all of us to kind of just be connected together. So for me, it's what I do now. It's a way for everybody to just kind of be a part of whatever's happening, no matter what their voice sounds like, without judgment, without fear, without hesitation, just contributing your voice.
Great. Hey, so Frankie.
Yes.
You've been up to something that I don't know, but you were going to tell us your story. Tell us your story.
Yeah. So I kind of want to connect it to kind of when David mentioned how he had the musician and someone wrote a poem about 6 feet apart. And I was actually really touched because you know how the whole coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic started in China and everybody was instantly in quarantine. And a good friend of mine is actually a composer, currently currently living in China. And then it started as an internal project. The company is so big and all the workers are working at home, and then the boss wanted to encourage everybody. So she employed her to write a song about just staying connected, that we're all going through this together. And I was helping her translating it into English, and we call it the air hugs, that we can't physically hug, but you can give each other air hug and remember that things will pass. And just that process of seeing all that together, your voice connecting with other people's voices, and then the vibration in your head suddenly matches the vibration of a exterior world, and that's just really magical. But I think when I was writing that, I understood, but I didn't fully experience it. So 2 weeks ago, I went on vacation. I flew from New York to El Paso, Texas. It was my annual big climbing trip. I was away with like 12 other people. We've never been on a trip this large, and we were just happily away in the desert while New York keeps crashing down into the disaster. And we were like, what are we gonna return to? I like packed for 10 days, but we're all like, are we really gonna be able to come back in 10 days? And then by the second weekend, I actually got a message from my mother, who is in Taiwan, Taipei by herself, because all of her family members are kind of scattered. My dad's on the East Coast, my brother's on the West. And then she said, hey, so nothing is sure yet, but my CT scans, something happened, and I went in for a scan. My CT scans show some kind of tumor, and then we're gonna have to find out more. But doctors said it could be something that needs to be surgically removed. So she was asking, she mentioned it in the family chat, and she's like asking my dad if he could fly back, because the rest of us are working. And then as the day went by, New York, California, and Washington all went into level 3. And we knew that, if my dad flies back from New York, he's going to have to home quarantine for 14 days. So then my trip was coming to an end, and I've been away from New York, and I was in Texas. And then I found out later, I think it was actually announced earlier in the week, I just didn't find out until later, that my office actually closed until further notice. So okay, maybe I can be the one that flies back and avoid the extra quarantine, and then I'll be working from home remotely. So what difference does it make, right? And so we went on this hunt of plane tickets, and meanwhile, I was also feel really fortunate that was happening, because my dad is actually in the high risk group as well, over 60 with high blood pressure. If he was to fly, who knows what's going to happen.
Frankie, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Did you guys have any connection issues just now or no? Little bit?
Just a little.
Could be me. I'm not that close from my Wi-Fi in the house, in summary, I'm currently back in Taiwan, and so what happened was I flew from Texas. I was able to get tickets straight from Texas instead of returning to New York. It took my friend researching for me back in China, because Expedia couldn't find any transfer flights that doesn't involve stopping in San Francisco or Tokyo, which are both really horrible places to be in right now. And so it ended up being 2 single flights. I flew from El Paso to Houston, waited for 6 hours for another flight from Houston straight back to Taipei. But even then, while I was in the air, Taiwan's health department elevated the quarantine level for the entire United States. So after I landed, I still had to be registered into the home quarantine monitoring program, and I had to take a special taxi, and I have to stay in this room, basically in the house, for 14 days without stepping out. And I was really glad to be with my mom, but then the more I understood how it could be bad for her, there's 50-50 chance for her to be cancer, and then that she's also, past 60, and getting coronavirus is definitely not the kind of condition she wants to be in when she goes into surgery. So I only landed in the morning. It's currently 5:30 a.m. and then I landed the 6 a.m. around 12 hours ago. So the whole time I was going through this, like, okay, now I'm back, but I'm still on quarantine, so I can't technically be with her. I won't be able to give her a hug. I can't give her a kiss. And then even though I feel fine because I have a good immune system, who's to say that I don't have the virus already? And then who's to say that I won't pass it to her, and what's going to happen? And then there's a lot of back and forth. But then, yeah, but it was good that when she went to the doctor's visit, he actually allowed me to video chat in, so I could kind of be in the session. Yeah, just a lot has happened. And then this whole quarantine distance suddenly was very real. And that's why I said I was living double lives. In the morning, I'll be with her, kind of, and then at night, I'm here, which is kind of good because when you have a ton of time in quarantine, you want something to do. So yeah, sorry, that was a jumble mumble of sharing.
So you're in Taipei where your mom is, but you can't actually be with her?
Yeah, so I have to be in my room, and if I step out of the room, I had to put on my mask and my gloves. That's why I'm sitting by the door as close to the Wi-Fi as possible without having to put on my mask. And then everything I touch, I have to disinfect every day. We have to wipe surfaces. We have to keep airflow, so vents and windows. There's a whole protocols to this. They've really got it down to science because Taiwan got through the first wave of infection. It really stopped all travels from China and the level 3 infected areas in time. But then now there's a huge wave of especially students and people who are abroad trying to come home. And that's actually been bringing back a lot of new cases. So that's why they really, really quickly elevated all return citizens to, all return people to self-quarantine for 14 days.
How do they monitor you?
It's actually crazy. So they write down your name, your address, and your phone number. And then every day someone calls you to ask after your health, ask how you are, and making sure that you're not away. And I haven't personally tested this last fact, but apparently they will also locate you. So if you step too far away from where you said you should be, they will also notify you that.
It's like the Matrix.
They
put that little thing in your neck, and then I mean, how do they know? How do they locate you? Your phone? Ah, scary.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
kind of
sorry to hear that. I hope you guys are doing all right. That is a wild story. I had a similar moment, nothing close to what you had, where I was sitting here typing away, and your story just brings it to perspective of what I've been experiencing. And I wanted to go somewhere, I thought I couldn't go. And all of a sudden, it set in. I think today was the first day it set in for me that this is a new world. And it was like almost like this, wait, I can't wake up. No, I can't do that type deal. And luckily I'm blessed. I'm out in like the woods-ish area, but for your situation, my heart goes out to you. That's absolutely incredible. It's wild in your family.
Thank you, James.
How are you feeling, Frankie?
A really mixed feelings. Like I'm glad to be back, but I'm also kind of terrified because I don't know if I feel like I was rushing back so I could be with her and accompany her. You know, when you go to doctors to hear results, how terrifying that is, but I actually can't. And then I realized that maybe my presence is actually more of a liability for my mom because now she has to take care of me. She has to be the one that, you know, get food for me. And then we have to be both kind of on the lookout. So when I just got back, she went out to her doctor's appointment before running to me in case the hospital wouldn't let her in. And then when she finally got back home, we went into this strange limbo where I stand on this side of the door and she stands good 6 feet away on the other side. And we look at each other and we kind of feel like this is comical and it's too much and it's exaggerated. It's not that serious. But on the other hand, we're also like, actually, it may be really serious. And then thinking about all the cases that has happened and then the reality and severity of how bad her situation could be. So we're on this strange dance of wanting to be close, but like also afraid of being close. Yeah, it's weird.
I keep feeling that same, like it feels silly at times to be doing what we're all doing in terms of staying at home, and at times I'm like, it doesn't feel as necessary, and I fluctuate between that and hitting a complete, top of the roller coaster of thinking, wait, this is actually way worse than I think it is. Like I struggle to find a middle ground.
Yeah. When I was on my flight back, my first flight was just domestic from El Paso to Houston. Everyone was kind of chill. Other than in the airport, nobody in the airplane really wore a mask. But then when I was on the flight back to Taipei, it was mostly Asian people trying to go home or returning from their trips. And then that's a whole nother level. Every single person has mask. That's the least. Good majority of people have gloves on, and then I've seen a girl with a full hazmat suit on boarding the airplane with her, and then just it's a whole nother level of world, and you're like, wow, this is really real. Yeah.
Frankie,
For
I
me,
just want to
Go
send
ahead,
you
Tanya.
I just want to send you love to you and your mom and your whole family. And I think, you can't go back. If you think about all the things you might regret if you weren't there, like that's not going to happen because you're there. And hopefully the 14 days will go by quickly. And I think though, even though your mom has to worry about you and get you food, like that's what moms do. And it might help take her mind off the other things. I think the fact that you're there probably means more to her than you might ever know. So just, I'm thinking about you all and sending love.
Thank you, Tantra. Extra meaning from Tantra love.
Frankie, I just want to, real quick, I'll keep it short. Yeah, I just want to echo that. Like, I just keep thinking about how powerful it is that your energy is even there near your mother right now.
Yeah.
That is so powerful for what you can do for her for healing. And I'm so just heartbroken for you being on the other side of the door. I could just kind of feel that when you were describing it. But your presence there is providing so much healing for her. And I'm so glad you're there, and I'm so glad you're safe. And even though you're isolated, we're going to get through this, and your mother having you there is the right thing.
Thank you, David.
Go, Felipe.
Well, honestly, I was going to say something sort of like what David said, but he just said it 100 times better than me.
Oh,
so
stop
I'm just going to second that. But I did have one more thing for me, and sort of what Michelle said, and David, what you said prior, is just the wave of emotion. I have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old who has to stand at a computer for 4 hours straight. And I have a 9-year-old. And putting it all out there, there's times during the day where I'm like, Lila, no, you need to stop. I'm doing work. I'm doing this. And then I was watching the harmony piece earlier, and like the song came on, and like next thing I noticed, like they're both like hugging me, and we're like singing together. And I'm like, wait a minute. So it's just that wave of emotion, and being able to get through that for me has been challenging, but on the other side also rewarding to have them there.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, this is probably okay to say, but it's been really hard for our business. This is just not a good thing from a fiscal point of view for us. And I just say that as a news report. I'm not complaining. It's intense. And I drive to Florida to pick up my son. In the meantime, there's so many things going on. And then driving back, I haven't seen him in weeks, and he's just back in the United States, and he's been off the grid. So he has no clue what's going on. He had to get a speed education in this thing. He knew he had been sent home, but he found out he was being sent home at 4:00 the night before. In less than 24 hours, he was home, and he was off the grid until that moment. So he gets in the car, and I'm in the car, and I'm like, the emotions, sort of like what you're describing, Felipe. It's like we're doing this show, and then there's like funding challenges, and then we had to make adjustments to people's pay. We're doing everything we can to survive. And there was a moment, I'll tell you, we had a company meeting that morning at 9 a.m. and there's a lot of people crying in the meeting, and I'm tearing up, and my son's next to me, Like, what the hell is going on with Dad? Like, what is this I'm witnessing, you know? And then I got in a fight with someone and it was intense and we were yelling at each other. Crazy intense. And I thought the same thing, like, wow, look at what my children are experiencing right here. You know, it's, you know, and then as I said, like, he will not pee in public, my son. And when he, you know, we pull over and I don't want him going into the plaza to go to the bathroom, just go in the woods. But I learned, like, he would not do it. Anyway, but as a relationship thing, because then, like, it took us 2 nights. So we stayed in a hotel that night. And when we got into the hotel, we ate more pizza than you can imagine. You know, we're washing our hands and just munching in on the pizza. And it was like so joyous. But the range of emotions was just out of control.
You know,
So I had a question about the difference between the domestic flight and the international flight. And I don't know if other people are having this, but there's like a quarantine judgment, you know, like there's this kind of feeling of like, well, I'm observing the quarantine this way, you're observing it that way. And it seems like what you're saying about Taiwan is that we're not really like, that in the United States, people are not quite like up to speed, like up to pace. I'm like, what, I don't know whether you were saying that, or maybe like if you go from the hazmat suit all the way down to the people on the flight from El Paso, they're just like, what, who cares? I just wonder, like, if traveling, when you did that travel, if it made you think, you know, what your feelings were about it. Like,
I think I was in mixed feeling because through the WHO website, they literally, I think they've been tweeting, they've been sharing infographics on what's the right way to stay protected but not overly panic. And I think mask wearing has had a bad name ever since 9/11. And then a lot of what they say makes sense too about mask not really being able to fully protect you if the virus was flying into your face, right? Unless you wear a real respirator mask, a respiration ventilating mask. But I think it's also the degree of understanding what you're blocking, whether you're protecting yourself, protecting others. Because I definitely was on the flight, and then there will be people coughing, and then they wouldn't be trying to cover it up or wearing a mask. And it's just the whole, I'm not judgmentally saying that wearing a mask at all times is the way to do, because I mean, I personally also think if you're in public and with good air ventilation, you don't have to suffocate yourself. But at the same time, when you're obviously in an enclosed range area, and then this very real pandemic is happening, and then the news has been telling you that everyone's probably infected already, and then it's just a degree of symptoms, and then how conscious people are to the well-being of themselves and others, I guess.
I mean, I had a fight with a friend. I had a fight yesterday with a friend over, I was being too quarantine-y, you know? Like, I was like, you can come over, we have to stay 6 feet apart. And she's like, well, I figured to act like I'm sick, I'm not coming over. And I'm like, but we're just not in the same, everybody's in their own. And I think in the United States, especially, I'm actually amazed by how, and I think of Texans in particular as being really individuals, you know, like they're like, I don't know, it just feels like we're going to do what we're going to do. But most people are cooperating for the most part, you know, I mean, without any pressure. I mean, there's not a lot of pressure. I mean, that's just interesting to me, but I think of Texas as like the last frontier, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I can relate because, like I said, my mom and I went into this comical situation of like, this is too much. Like, I have to wear a glove when I walk out of the room. Like, what is this, you know? But then you think about the consequence of what it could mean. And then you're like, whoa, okay, hold on. It's something better not to risk. A friend of mine was telling me how he's super happy that I'm back, but he's probably not going to see me until 14 days later because above him lives a 98-year-old man. Across the floor from him lives a 95-year-old man. He's like, I'm fine. I don't want to kill them, you know? So it's just how you think about it.
You know, it's changed. So like one of the things that we do is volunteer projects. And as you can all imagine, I mean, on Monday, the rules were one thing. On Tuesday, the rules were even more strict, and then it's just grown as the week has gone. And we've all had to disperse and go work remotely, which has created stress. We've been talking about the realities of what's about to happen to a nonprofit that relies on funders. And when funders right now are being asked to give to urgent care and urgent need providers, which is what they should be doing. So how to weather that. And yet, how can we stay still engaged? So the past 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, we had Hygiene Drives. And what we did is myself, and I was joined by another member of our team, we gloved up, we stayed 6 feet apart outside in a ventilated space, and people drove up and we got opened their trunks and we took their donations out of the trunk and we put them on the sidewalk. And then a car drove up and then we opened that trunk and put it into the trunk. And then they drive it to the facility. And then the person at that facility comes out and opens the trunk and takes it out of the trunk, and all with gloves on. And we're trying to still keep going and still keep helping. And everybody who drove up, there was a sense of, people were talking to us through the windows, just wanting to engage and wanting to connect. And some people were very sad and they were like, this is the first time I've been out. Some people were at risk and probably shouldn't have driven out, in their car, but they felt so alone and so isolated and they wanted to give in some way. And to the story that you were saying, the only thing that I think right now that is some beauty that I can find in this is that I see a younger generation, not all of them, but I do see a younger generation that is tuning in to the importance of the elders, to the importance of those who have been here and those who know more than they know. And that we need to return to this way of remembering that every generation, regardless of age, regardless of where we are, every voice has a part in the song. Every story is part of the greater story, and that this younger generation, maybe a light will turn on, and maybe we will remember it's not just that we don't want them to die, it's that we want them to live, so that we can learn from them and so that we can pass on the stories and keep our humanity connected to each other, through this really emotionally debilitating time.
I think you're so right. I feel like the fact that this is really sort of the first time that we've collectively been asked to sacrifice, the only people that can really relate to it on the same scale, I think, are the people that you're talking about. I was talking to my grandfather about that, I said, what's your perspective on this? Because you lived through the only other time that collectively in World War II we had to do something like this. And I think on one hand, he somewhat smugly wants to say, well, it's about time. But on the other hand, I agree with him in some ways that I think it could be good for some people to not only realize the worth of a certain generation, but also have to sacrifice a little and know what that's like.
Right.
Hopefully not so much cost.
Silver lining. You gotta look for it. It's actually, I've heard so many, I love that. I mean, I like the cosmic astrology ascension stuff, as long as it's positive, I think that it's fine, even though something horribly negative is happening, to try and look for the positive, but you have to be careful. There's always a positive. But I've heard a lot of people talking about like the environment, and I saw that video of how the water in Venice, the rivers in Venice were running clean, and so it does take a little bit of the sting out of it for me.
But in some ways, there's two viruses happening, it seems. And there's the one that is being diagnosed and that we're all being tested for and all these things. But there's this other virus now, this socioeconomic kind of virus that's really highlighting what we've all been talking about in our diversity. And that is the disparity between, those of us who have resources and have access to resources and those who don't. this is being really elevated right now in a very rapid way. And I agree with you. I want to look for that silver, you know, in that lining, and I want to see the hope that's there. And I also want to, at the same time, not diminish or in any way, like, you know, I want to hear people's fear, because people need their fear to be heard. And when Tom was describing how hard it is right now with what he's going through, I mean, in a week's time, the number of people that are my friends that have lost their jobs,
Yeah.
that have no income at all.
Yeah.
It's a painful time that is only at the beginning of it. And we have to figure out how to keep this stuff going so that we can just stay in touch with each other and find ways to support each other through this distancing.
Well, it's, you know, the other part of that, well, first of all, I'd just say, like, I may have said this the other day. If I'm repeating, I apologize, but I heard I'm stealing this from someone else, but just, it's more than a silver lining. It's radically both things at once. Like, they're both, like,
Right.
highlightingly happening, you know, together. And it's about a truth. Like, there's clarity around all of this. And when that clarity, like, gives you a solid reflection of, like, what is happening in reality, it's like the music, it's the bittersweet thing in the music, right? It's both things. I feel like sad and happy in an intense way when I witness that. That one shot of that woman with tears in her eyes in the prison, you know, I'm telling myself this whole story, like, she had a rough upbringing. Her father sang to her on the couch, and this is her reflecting on that. And she's feeling like, I'm telling myself this whole narrative, and I'm loving her, and I'm feeling pain all at the same time. And that's happening all around me all the time right now. I mean, one of the things, as you were talking, what I was thinking about is, I have high class problems. Yeah, it sucks. I got a basket of suckies. We all do. And I have high class problems on a relative basis. Isn't the bombing of London every night for me right now? Not right now. It's not. And then there's all these physical things that I worry about, and I don't even know what they are. Somebody needs my physical help, not my internet help. They need my physical help, me to get in my car and go to that place and do things with them. I don't even know what it is. But it's going to be interesting to see as those things emerge, and how might we take action. Now, maybe they won't. Maybe it's going to get better. I kind of doubt it, but I don't want to feel like I'm on the other side of the wall and safe, and then there's people within whatever it is, whether it's a prison or a homeless shelter or whatever, because I don't know enough to know. But I want to know, and I'd love to figure out how we might do something there. And that was an amorphous statement, but I think about it a lot.
Well, it's one day at a time. I mean, this coming Sunday, we're launching another drive, but we were going to call it a 1 week, all this other stuff, but we just decided to call it one day at a time. And so it's on Sunday from 11 to 1. Then it's, if we're able to come out on Monday, it's Monday 11 to 1. If we're able to still come out on Tuesday, it's Tuesday 11 to 1. And the list will be posted every day. And we're putting all the protocols in place, because we can be responsible, and we can adhere to the guidelines, and we can adhere to the safety precautions, because we have to, because there are people out there who are relying on us to get them the things that they need to function the way that we can function at home. And they need those things too. And so for people who can, who are able, who are not at risk, and if you follow the guidelines until they tell us not to move, we here in Ohio have to keep moving. Now, that might be in 5 minutes. It might be in 5 days.
Right.
But until then, as long as we follow the rules with each other, we can still continue to reach out and try to support and try to help and be there. Like you say, your physical presence can still help in some way.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's amazing that everyone's following the rules, that so many people are following the rules? I mean, it's partly from love and partly from fear. I think it's kind of like what Tom was saying. There's two things at once. I mean, I think people are really scared, so they're actually staying away from each other. But then there also is this kind of like the love for the collective welfare and the collective well-being. And people are, I mean, it's very, nobody's going around. I haven't seen any police or military, you know, this is just all sort of voluntary. I mean, it's interesting to me. I think it's pretty amazing.
David, do you feel, I mean, I don't know what the span of time that you've had to disconnect from a physical point of view, is this abnormal? I mean, let's say it's been 10 days. Do you feel a longing to be with your people?
I listen, watching the video just makes me sad. I mean, the Monday night rehearsals, I mean, 500 people singing in a room together, there's a lot of energy and a lot of goodness that comes out of that. The kids at the school, who it's the one safe place that they have. You know, even when they drive me crazy and work my last damn nerve, you know, I mean, they're still kids and their energy is so good. You know, the prison, that's where my heart breaks, because I think about people who already live in a state of fear within the prison. They're already isolated, and now they can have no visitors. Family cannot come see them. Outside sources cannot come in. So they're just living in that day-to-day repetitive behavior. And you add that extra layer of fear to it, and the fact that we can't be there. So now we're going to start doing some Skyping, and we're going to start doing some other things to try to kind of be there with them, but they have to be separate too. So we're going to be limited even into what we can do there. But yeah, this is just bizarre, you know? It doesn't feel yet like it's, I said to someone yesterday, it feels like I'm waking up in that Bill Murray movie, like Groundhog Day. Like I'm waking up every day and it's the same damn thing, but the rules just change a little bit more and there's even more restriction. And I'm grateful in some ways that it's been laid out over time, that we didn't all just all of a sudden find out this is the way it's going to be now, because it's allowed the psyche, I think, to adjust a little bit day by day. But I think everyone right now, at least where we are in Ohio, everyone's feeling like the next shoe to drop is, you know, self-quarantine, isolation, probably for 2 weeks. And, you know, we won't be the first and we won't be alone in having to go through that.
Yeah. So Martha, people ask, because I know people are asking, like, if they want to have a neighborhood project, just write it in the comment and Martha will reach out to you, and anyone can have it for free. This is just, and this, I'll just give the essential. I mean, what we just did here is we're already in a shared experience, which is the world at large, right? Which is pretty intense. And then we were able to have a shared experience with David through the film, which is just puts us in a place. And then with Frankie as well. And then the conversation just flows in a really powerful way. So we've got a whole basket of these things. And if anybody wants them, just put in a comment and Martha will help you get set up.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I just think that there are people who are connected with us. There are a lot of stories out there like Frankie's, probably more stories even from the people here. And we want to hear from them. Yeah. We just want to know what's going on with people, because just because we're physically disconnected doesn't mean we have to be emotionally disconnected, which is what we're trying to counter with the face-to-face. So,
yeah.
Frankie just wanted to say we'll be thinking of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something really cool just happened. Sunrise.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That was amazing.
That was great. What time is it, Frankie?
It's 12 hours apart. So
12. So 5:03
a.m. Yeah.
I think it's the first day of spring, by the way.
Oh, it is?
I think so.
Today in the US, the 19th.
Yeah, equinox. Spring equinox. What are you
That's
gonna
the
do
thing,
today?
right?
Huh?
That's the thing.
What are you gonna do today?
I'm gonna sleep.
All right, well, I'll be thinking about all of you. Frankie, we will especially be thinking about you, and I hope everything's okay. If we can be helpful to you, please let us know.
Well, thank you. Be thinking about all of you guys.
And as the song says, as that song says, we are loved, we are strong, we are held, we belong. That's all we have to remember right now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.